I got some weird conspiracy ideas. One of them is about Watergate. Watergate, as we all know, was, Nixon, the whole ordeal, hatchet men, was it G. Gordon Liddy and Howard Hunt. Funny story about G. Gordon Liddy, he actually just walked out of there, got home, told his wife he was getting arrested in the morning, and sure enough, 6 o'clock in the morning, they got arrested. But what if Watergate went a little deeper? What if the reason they were trying to get rid of Nixon wasn't because of Watergate? And as I studied Watergate, a lot of the same players keep popping up. So, when you start looking at Watergate, you start thinking, wait a minute. You start seeing these players, well, what if Watergate was connected to the death of JFK? Now, it sounds far-fetched, but Nixon and JFK were friends. Nixon knew Joe Kennedy, their dad. He was vice president. Of course, he'd met these people. Ran against Kennedy in 1960. Narrowly lost. Then, of course, you had the Warren Commission and all of these other things that happened. But then, when Nixon was elected in 1968, I think he beat Hubert Humphrey, I believe. As he had Vice President Spiro Agnew. Well, Nixon talked about releasing all the JFK papers. And Nixon had a team of savages around him. Henry Kissinger, Chuck Colson. Chuck Colson was a hatchet man back in the day. He had a dream team of who's who. So he talks about, he breaks with the establishment. Nixon does a lot of incredible things, but then Watergate happens, and of course Nixon won the '72 election by a landslide. But then, of course, Spiro Agnew's forced out. And Watergate happens after Nixon talks about releasing all the JFK papers and this or that. Well, who broke the news? It was a CIA man named Bob Woodward, who was, And then, who replaced Spiro Agnew? A man Nixon didn't want. A former CIA man and a Warren Commission advisor, Gerald R. Ford. Now, Nixon would have beat this. He was a fighter. But at the last minute, a Republican pulled all of the Republican support away from Richard Nixon. And who was that Republican? George H.W. Bush. Sound familiar? You start looking at these names, and they keep transcending all of these main things that happened in the 60s, 70s, into the 80s. And then Nixon knew he couldn't win, and in order to just go away peacefully and stop this madness, he just decided that it was just best for him and the country to resign. They blamed Nixon for Watergate. Now, I don't know if Nixon had any knowledge of Watergate or not, but I do know that they wanted to get rid of him, and I do know that Nixon also understood that this happened on his watch, and these were his guys. And until the former CIA guy, George Bush, pulled all the support from him, Nixon would have been fine. And he would have been president until 76. So, it always makes me wonder, was the Nixon resignation about Watergate, or was it for something deeper? These guys from the 40s into the 70s, now mind you, this is only 25, 30 years. The same names keep popping up. And when this many CIA and ex-CIA guys keep popping up into the mix, who have been involved in every weird catastrophe and every weird it kind of makes you wonder, what was Watergate really about? Because everybody that had anything to do with Watergate, with the exception of two guys, G. Gordon Liddy and Howard Hunt, got their sentence commuted. G. Gordon Liddy got paroled early, and so did Howard Hunt. Everybody else got their sentences either pardoned or commuted. So, yeah, kind of makes you wonder. It's a fascinating conspiracy worth looking into.